Hello, everybody, and welcome to the True Love Talk channel. Here we want to learn about human sexuality and love based on the teachings that Pope John Paul II left in the Theology of the Body. I am Elisa, and today we're going to have our seventh video of the series Mulieris Dignitatem on the dignity of women. And today we're going to continue the topic of being partners of the absolute, namely the part of fertility that is going to fulfill this first part of the first covenant. So, if you like this kind of content and you want to learn about life, sexuality, family, all from the view of the Catholic Church, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think that this video is something that somebody else could use or is going to help anybody else, please share it. And having said that, so let's begin. Okay, so we are trying to establish where does the dignity of women come from, right? And we have said that this is an ontological dignity that comes from the being of the woman, just like the dignity of men comes from their being, right? It's ontological. On the last video, we also said that this dignity is tied up to the vocation of the human person when God made us his partners in creating humanity with this first covenant that we have talked about. And the first covenant is be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. So we've said that this first covenant is going to allow us to fulfill the universal vocation that every human being has, therefore universal, and to be holy, right? We are called to be holy like God is holy. And we also said that this universal vocation is universal because it's for everyone, but it's also particular because the way that we are going to become holy is going to be specific to the capacities and talents and every characteristic that God gave us to make us the unique and individual person that we are and that has not been repeated in history, right? So we also said how part of this covenant, the last part, the second part, the part of subduing the earth, would happen through work. Our work is what is going to allow us to fulfill this second part of the covenant, sorry, of subduing the earth, because it is the way in which we can make actual and materialize the fruits of our spirit, right? The work, the spiritual work of our intelligence and our will is translated in material acts through our work. So, and this is going to be tied up to our particular, and the first particularity that a person will have, the first thing that is going to make them different from others, is going to be our sexuality, right? Because the two ways of being human are, first of all, male and female. Those are the two basic ways. Of course, we have, after that, God gives us a lot of other characteristics and talents, but the first two ways or main ways are male or female, which means that our sexuality is vital to fulfill this first covenant of for God, that, as we said in the last video, it's about creating humanity. It's about helping God create our humanity. And part of an interesting part of sexuality that we should know is that the word sex comes from the Latin section, no, section, which means dividing. So basically, having sexuality means that God took man and divided man in half, right? Half of it is male, the other half is female. And this is something that is very clear in our bodies, because if we notice, the way that our reproductive system works is completely different to any other system in our bodies. Let's take, for example, the respiratory system. We are born with our respiratory system intact, right, and complete, and it can fulfill its function by itself. That means that I don't need anybody else to breathe for me once I am born, right? But when it comes to the reproductive system, I cannot reproduce by myself. My reproductive system as a woman is not complete because it cannot fulfill its function. I need the male's reproductive system to fulfill the function, which is reproduction, right? And that is the way in which we're going to multiply and fill the earth. Now, we may wonder, why would God feel the need to divide mankind this way, in the male or female way of being human? And we can answer this question when we take a look at the consequences of this division. The first consequence we can talk about is, thanks to having this reproductive system divided into, God can create diversity in humanity. If we could reproduce by ourselves, right, like amoebas do, what we would be doing is cloning ourselves, because that is actually what amoebas do. They create an individual exactly like themselves. So basically our children would be extensions of ourselves. But in this way, by needing the other person, what we have is a man and a woman come together, and this is when variation starts to happen, to the point that we can create an infinite number of individuals, all of them unique and different to each other. The second consequence that arises from this division between male and female is that we can become sacraments of the Holy Trinity, because in the spousal union, the husband and the wife need to commune with each other, just like the three people in the Holy Trinity need to commune with each other to become this one true God. In our case, we commune with each other and we become one flesh, and we also become creative, like God can create, right? The creative power of God comes from its unity, from it being the, yeah, from its communion, the communion of the three people. And so it happens in us. When we commune with the other person, then we get the power to create other people, to create other beings, right? Different from ourselves. That also leads us to believe, so which is more important, the male or the female? No, actually, females cannot reproduce without males, and males cannot reproduce without females. So this is a very subtle way of God living, making clear that women's dignity is just as important or valid or worthy as male's dignity, that we are worth exactly the same, and that our dignity is exactly the same. And it also lets us see that to create humanity, which is the end goal of this first covenant, we need to collaborate with others. We need to give ourselves to others and receive what the others need to have to give us, because if we do it by ourselves, we're really not getting anywhere. Think about how vast one science is. Let's take neurology, which is it's a very recent science, and it has advanced a lot in the last 2 decades. So it's very new compared to other sciences. But if we said that there would only be one scientist in all of mankind doing this neurological work, we know that neurology is not going to advance very, very much. It is the work of the scientific community, all of the neurologists of the world, which give us this rich and vast knowledge of neurology, right? This happens in every aspect of the human life. We are never going to go further than we are if we don't collaborate with others, if we don't give ourselves to others and receive what others have to give us. And that is why motherhood is going to be the fulfillment of femininity, in the same way that fatherhood is going to be the fulfillment of masculinity, right? Let's remember, first of all, that sexuality is going to go through and unify the three elements of the human being. And those three elements are the body, the soul, and the spirit, right? So we know we have feminine bodies and masculine bodies, but we also have feminine spirits, masculine spirits with feminine souls and masculine souls. And this means that there are sexual attributes. Attributes specific to one or of the sexes and not the other, right? That are going to be present in the person of that sex. So a human female is going to have very specific spiritual characteristics that a human male, of course, all men are human, but that a human male is not going to have precisely because he is a male. And let's also remember that our our calling, our vocation to parenthood is universal, because even for those who remain single, we can have a a spiritual or an academic, right, a parenthood, kind of parenthood. So the idea is we have to be fertile and we have to multiply ourselves, whether it is in a very concrete way as in having a child, or because we create the life of others through education. We are going to help others create their own humanity, and that is a way of parenthood. And of course, the male or masculine way of educating is completely different to the female or feminine way of education, right? We are going to, and this in this difference are going to pay to the difference between the sexes. So, as we can see, our fertility is a fundamental condition to fulfill that first covenant with God, which was to be fertile and multiply and fill the earth, right? And to create that humanity that we are called to create, or called to co create. I'm sorry, called to co create with God. So in the next videos, we're going to analyze femininity and masculinity by itself, but the topic is long enough for this video, so we're going to leave it to this point. And I'm very glad to see that you decided to stay until the end of the video. If you have any question or any comment, please write it in the comment section below and I will try to answer it as soon as possible. And if you like this kind of content and you want to know more about human sexuality, love, life, and family from the view of the Catholic Church, please subscribe to this channel. Please ding the bell for notifications. Please share and like this video. And I'm very glad that you're here. Have a nice day. Lots of blessings for everybody. See you in the next one. Bye.